It's late 2008, and I'm in Kurdistan, Iraq, for a political science field trip. We're driving on a long drive back to the capital one afternoon when we stopped to stretch our legs at the base of a gently sloping grassy hill. And as I get out of the bus, I look around to see if there's a good spot to have that granola bar I've been saving. And something catches my eye. Oozing out from under the rocks on the hill are several foot-wide streams of a thick, brown, mud-like substance. And as I approach it to take a closer look, our guide, as if he's read my mind, shouts, "Don't eat that! That's oil!" My first reaction? Disgust. I was a student of environmental risk, active in international climate change conferences. I knew for a fact that oil was bad. But as I stared at this foreign brown substance, fascination took over. Isn't oil black? What was it doing here? Had an accident happened? Seeing this natural oil seep made me realize that I was completely out of touch with oil. And from this moment forward, oil, something that had seemed so clearly black and white to me, took on many shades of, well, brown. Now think back to the first time that you saw oil. I'd bet that it was in a leak of some sort and that it was bad news. It might have been motor oil dripping out from under your car. More likely, though, it was on the news. Oil spilling out the side of a tanker. It's downright devastating what oil can do to the environment, isn't it? Those images of blackened beaches, wildlife drenched in the stuff, and battling to breathe through it. I was horrified to see how in Nigeria, forests, rivers, livelihoods of thousands have been poisoned by leaks in over 4,000 miles of pipelines crisscrossing the Niger Delta. But perhaps freshest in our minds is the BP oil spill from 2010 that sent over 3.2 million barrels gushing out into the Gulf of Mexico over the period of 3 months. Now, 3.2 million barrels, that's 130 million gallons. I'm going to try and put that in perspective. That's enough for you guys seated in the back 2 rows to get 3 Starbucks Grandes every day for the rest of your long lives and pass that gift card down for 1,000 generations. That's a lot. That would be a lot of coffee. Now, fast forward a few years, and the student of environmental risk is now a consultant. often for the oil and gas industry. Now, in the eyes of many Californians, and certainly many students here, working with or for big oil is considered the single most uncoolest job you could have. It's really the antithesis to being the coveted tech entrepreneur. But it's not just uncool. It's seen as deplorable. Total strangers will take it upon themselves to educate me about my malevolence and that of my colleagues. Well-meaning friends and family will say, "Is that ethical? Shouldn't we get you out of there?" As if I need rescuing, because I've clearly forgotten to factor in morality into my daily decisions. And on the one hand, I really do appreciate the honesty. But on the other, these comments sting every time. Why? Because it's hypocrisy and lacks nuance where nuance is due. You see, on a personal level, the 130 million gallons that spilt out during the BP oil spill, the 1,000 generations worth of Starbucks, is a lot. And certainly the destructive power of that amount of oil is severe. But from the perspective of consumption, what spilled out over 3 months is only 1/8 of what we consume in a day in the US. 1/8. And it's not your neighbors, it's us, you and I, who are the consumers. And as consumers, our thirst for oil is insatiable, even when we see the images on TV. But we don't like to think of ourselves as consumers, so oil remains black to us. But imagine a world without oil in it. There'd be no asphalt, some fertilizers wouldn't exist, we'd have no gasoline, no jet fuel. And that's already a stretch of the imagination. Now try to imagine a world without plastics. Everything from toothbrushes to television screens has either oil or gas as the critical input in its production process. For me, a world without oil would probably be a lot like the late 1800s, when oil was this new thing that could make so much happen, much like smartphones are now, actually. And smartphones, driven by arguably the John D. Rockefeller of our times, Steve Jobs, have revolutionized the way we organize ourselves and communicate with each other. Certainly, I am very thankful for my iPhone, and I'm very dependent on it. But getting a phone into the hands of every person on the planet has a price. There are environmental issues associated with the extraction of the minerals required, and if it's true that Apple's manufacturer had to hang nets below its laborers' dorms to prevent them from committing suicide, that doesn't attest to the great labor conditions in the electronics industry. But are we disgusted when we see the new iPhone? No! In fact, if we were to meet someone from Apple at a cocktail party, we'd say something along the lines of, "Oh, Apple is it? I'm a big user of Apple products myself." But we never say, "Oh, Exxon is it? I'm a big user of oil products myself." My point is, rarely is anything that truly rocks the foundation of society, like oil, like smartphones, all good or all bad. And oil, whilst it certainly has a dark side when the risks manifest themselves, it still fuels the economy, literally. And it's not so black and white. For example, I'm pretty sure that you feel great when you can fill up your car for under $2 a gallon at the pump. And you're not alone, because the average American household will save around $750 this year because of the drop in the oil price. And that's great news. But the drop in oil price also endangers the 9 million jobs in the oil and gas industry in the US. That's 1 in 20 jobs. A similar contradiction? Reduced dependence on foreign oil is a prominent highlight that any president would love to boast with in their State of the Union. But in casual conversation, we condemn the shale gas boom that almost single-handedly got us this independence. Whose side is she on? You might be thinking. I'm rooting for accuracy and fairness in debate. In a world of highly polarized media, and in a community where really taking a stance is often rewarded, I invite you to join me on this uncomfortable space in the middle. Let's go all out on renewable energy and energy efficiency, but also recognize that oil is really doing something for us in the meantime. Let's hold the oil industry to really high standards, but also respect the people who work in it. Because the dismissive treatment of oil just seems like a form of hypocrisy, when most of us don't really walk our anti-oil talk. Are we really doing all we can to reduce our oil footprint? Things like reducing the amount of plastic we use and waste, fighting for teleconferencing facilities at our office instead of going for those much-loved business trips, taking holidays in Big Sur rather than flying off to New York for the weekend, opting to buy stuff that hasn't been air freighted in from the other side of the planet, or driving a more efficient car if you can't get there by bicycle. But these aren't things that you've not heard before. For me, the intermediate, more important step is that we need to come to terms with our complex, difficult, and above all ambiguous relationship with oil as individual consumers. And that is that oil is a substance that both creates and destroys many of the things that we hold dear. On complex issues such as these, my hope is that we go from visceral black and white reactions to responding from a place of full awareness. My hope is that the next time you see oil, you react as an intrigued consumer and see oil in full color. Thank you.